Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton and I am the host of your show this week and most every other week. And sometimes we have guests on and sometimes I just kind of share with you. And today is going to be one of those days where I just want to share with you because this week has been a really, really challenging week. And I kind of want to share my world with you because what I'm seeing is very, very concerning. This show is brought to you by millionkids.org. We named it that way back in 2010, maybe 2008, somewhere in there, because at that point, more than 1 million kids were being trafficked around the world, like in sex trafficking and labor trafficking and like that. So it's millionkids.org, not .com, because that's a rock band. But our business is literally, our logo is keeping kids safe from predators. And some days it is easier than others, and it is getting more and more and more complex and more concerning. And as I talk with parents and grandparents and kids that are involved in various kinds of cases, I just have it in my heart to kind of share my world with you so that maybe you can see it and look at it a little bit differently. So certainly I care deeply about young kids who get caught up in sex trafficking. That's really where our business started. And we began to see cases like that here in the Inland Empire, long about 2011, 2012. And one of the things that you should know about me if you meet me or are a personal friend is I'm not into melodrama. I'm not into making things worse than they are. I'm not into, marching up and down the street with signs or throwing out huge numbers. I deal with people, and this crime is tough enough dealing with people that I don't have to exaggerate it in any way. What we began to see back in 2012 was basically where gang members would use their gang girls and place them in our schools. And the idea there is that they would recruit other girls into prostitution. And it was really, really concerning at the time because we didn't understand how it was taking place. And kids that never would normally be considered commercial sex for a living were suddenly plunged into a world where they were being put out for commercial sex and the gangs were using it to make money. And that started for me about 2012 when I inherited my first case as Million Kids. We serve as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Human Trafficking Task Force. And they focus on keeping our kids out of commercial sex. People ask me all the time, well, is commercial sex legal? Well, it wasn't until 2023. In the state of California, it is now set up so that law enforcement can no longer intervene if you are engaging in soliciting or loitering to solicit for street prostitution. So it's more important than ever that we get our young people, our 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids educated about commercial sex and how it may start out looking like a lucrative way to support yourself. A lot of times our kids get started out because they're doing an amateur pornography video thinking they're going to make some money or, starting to set up their own little chat room kind of thing. And they don't realize the route they're going down and they end up getting exploited. But more importantly, somebody is going to come in there and see the vulnerability of that young person and take them over for basically pimping, even if it's online pimping. So it's kind of an interesting thing, the way that this has progressed. We began to see that, as I said, in 2012, where literally 60% of the girls were recruited by another girl. Now, this would be a girl at school that made it look like a lot of fun, but sometimes the girl was completely naive if it was a gang girl, and they were just friends. And the next thing you know, they disappear from the family and they start showing up over in commercial sex sites in LA or Las Vegas or Fresno and those kinds of areas. So we began to educate against it, and that is kind of the history of Million Kids. We've been now going into our 16th year, I think, of doing this, and it has changed dramatically because of technology. I wrote a book, and it's an older book, but it's still for sale, and I highly recommend that you read it if you especially have a young person. That book was called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's still available on Amazon, or you can order it at millionkids.org and support our work, and I'll sign it and send it to you. But it's all about the grooming of America's teenagers. And at that point, it was changing quite a bit because technology has changed a lot. That's why I wrote my second book. But I thought about that book today because I was doing some research about how predators seduce our kids. Now, I've written my own books, and I've written a 1,000 words about it, probably 100,000 words about it. I have our own YouTube channel. If you want to see a presentation, you can just simply put in my name, Opal Singleton, or Million Kids, and go onto YouTube, and you'll get more education than you can probably ever stand. But it usually starts out with an innocent connection. And that is the reason I wrote the second book, Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. If you think about how much technology has changed in the last 5 or 7 years, our kids are connecting to millions of other people, and they will never know who they are. So one of the challenges is, what is our society doing to give our kids a skill set to be able to recognize when they're talking to a bad guy? And I think before any child ever goes online, whether it's an iPad, an iPhone, or a video game chat room, they need to understand how the internet is made and who is out there, because there are now 5 billion people online that are connected around the world. I noticed this weekend one of the big gaming groups, I can't even remember which one it was now, whether it was Nintendo or who it was, but they tried to have one of those big kind of online game things that they have, and their system crashed. Back in 2019, they did a big one. Can't think of it right now, but it had 11 million simultaneous players. And so your child is going to, literally access millions of people they don't know the minute that you put them online. Here's what I can tell you about kids. They get technology, but they don't know what a pedophile is and why somebody wants that photo and where that photo is going to go. And many of these kids don't even realize that they're sending a photo because they're in a video game chat room with live streaming. And it just never occurs to their little brains, as they're actively playing on that console or their little device, that video camera works both ways. And if you can see them, they can see you, and they can record you. And so this works many, many different ways. I want to talk today for the rest of this particular session that we have on our radio show, and I appreciate each and every one of you that listen and share it with others. I want to talk about that grooming process, because one of the things that I see when I take on cases, which is hourly here, is that parents don't understand the grooming process. Neither are they able to comprehend just how serious this is and what is the potential when this thing goes wrong. We all want to believe it's just a little blip on the radar. And I hesitate to get too graphic about it, because I believe that our role as a parent is, if we're going to put a kid online, is that they educate them about the world they're entering and about the bad guys that are out there and how they're going to approach you and how you can tell whether or not they're a bad guy and how you can tell if your child is being groomed. if you don't have an understanding of all that, why would you drop your kid off on the curve of the digital highway and say, you be careful on that thing now, and walk away and pretend that nothing bad could happen to your kid? Your child is now on the World Wide Web, and they are exposed. And if you're going to do that, I want you to prepare your child to be able to use common sense online. This is Opal Singleton. It's break time. We'll be right back.
Are you tired of eating at the same old restaurants? Let me tell you about a fabulous Italian restaurant we found in Riverside, Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant. Their caprese salad is exquisite with candied balsamic glaze. All of their sauces are special recipes using only the best olive oils. The salads are fresh and healthy. They offer a wonderful array of pastas, including shrimp scampi, capellini, bolognese, and lasagna. They're famous for their gourmet pizza, and you can order online for takeout or have a special date for dining in with family and friends. Mamma Mia's caters special occasions and host private events. You have to try it out. Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant, located at 10971 Magnolia Avenue in Riverside, 1 block north of La Sierra on Magnolia. That's Mamma Mia's in Riverside. Be sure to tell Michael, Alex, or Joseph you heard it on AM 590 The Answer.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of MillionKids.org. I believe the 4 most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. So we created a challenge coin that says, I believe in you on one side and stand tall, you are loved on the other side. This one-of-a-kind challenge coin is a perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, Christmas presents, or just an anytime gift for someone you love. What a powerful message for a parent or a grandparent to give to a young person. This 2-inch coin is made of polished gold. It's striking to look at, and it is priceless to hold. It is packaged in a beautiful black velvet gift box. What a great way to leave a legacy of love that will last forever. To purchase this coin, go to millionkids.org/gallery. Each coin is $25. Go to millionkids.org/gallery to purchase and give a legacy of love.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to talk about the grooming process today. My name is Opal Singleton. I've been doing this for years and years. We run the nonprofit Million Kids, and so I've been involved in many, many cases of all different kinds. But what I want parents to understand is that your child is meeting strangers. Now, I often think about parents. You would never take your child down to the strip club and leave them off, and go, let me know how that works when I get back, okay? You wouldn't do that. I hope you wouldn't do that anyway. I'm counting on you being smarter than that, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa. But, literally, when you go online, there are 5 billion people, and we have to think about the reality of that. Let's say 100 people. Some of them are good people and some of them not so good. And some of them are smart and some of them are not so smart. And some of them want to do good for others and others want to see what they can get out of others. So any proportion of society is going to have good guys and bad guys. The big problem with the World Wide Web is that our kids will be the first generation in all of history that will live online. And we are not giving them the skill set to understand the grooming process, number one, and number two, what a bad guy might look at. So the first thing that you have to know about your child and any other child on earth is we all have a need to be loved. This is the reason why Million Kids, we sell coins. And we sell glassware. If you go on to millionkids.org, you will see the challenge coin on there that we sell. Yes, we sell it for fundraising, but we sell it because it says, I believe in you. And we also sell it because it says, stand tall, you are loved. And the idea of that is to give you a way to communicate what might not be easy for you to communicate. You can give it as a gift, it's a legacy. But what predators know and pedophile knows is we all have an innate desire for someone to believe in us, to be included. I cannot overstate the element of inclusion. Just think when your child gets, somebody at school gets mad at your child and your child feels alienated, like they're not going to be included in the classroom or the popularity or, whatever is going on at their school. That element of inclusion is one of the most powerful grooming elements in the world. And pedophiles get that right off the bat. So they're looking for a child that needs attention, and they start to give them individual attention, making them feel like they're special or unique. I'm sorry, your dad doesn't get it. I'm sorry your dad wasn't there for you. I'm sorry your mom's boyfriend is a creep. You're special. You shouldn't be treated like that. They act like a sympathetic friend. That is the reason why the first thing they're looking for is your child to post things that would indicate a vulnerability. In our business, we call it available and vulnerable. They post things like, my boyfriend and I broke up, or, I got a F in chemistry, or whatever the thing is. I'm going to be alone all weekend. Mom and dad are going out of town. They want me to stay with my grandparents. I don't want to stay with my grandparents. Okay. They look for any kind of vulnerability. Mom and dad are fighting again. And they come in with that kind of thing to be that sympathetic ear. I understand you. I'll listen to you. I'm sorry that you are not happy. Any of those kinds of posts will trigger a sympathetic friend on there, somebody that your kid, who normally would never trust a stranger, has suddenly got somebody to understand them in their point of vulnerability. So this is the reason why when I train kids in school, what they're looking for is available and vulnerable. Do not be available and vulnerable online. Know who you are and what you stand for. So if your child is especially looking for approval or affection or attention, and more so than average, that your child has a higher propensity to be groomed. And you have to understand that right off the bat, that somebody is going to come in there and just be their secret little special friend. I get you when nobody else gets you. And it's that simple in that grooming process. It often takes place when the child is 12, 13, or 14 years old. Now, it can take place if your child's online at 7, 8, and 9, but the approach is completely different in that kind of thing. One of the things we often see is a child that has had some sort of trauma in their early childhood makes them especially vulnerable. Maybe they were adopted into a loving, caring family. Maybe their mom and dad got a divorce and grandparents had to intervene in it. Maybe they lost someone that was particularly close to them, even though it was a natural case. Let's say a grandparent died and they were particularly vulnerable to that. Or mom or dad had to be away from home a lot because of the fact that they had to work or was doing something else. And so all of those are vulnerabilities that a child could be groomed. Well, before the internet, you could see that taking place because they would physically meet with people. But children that are on the internet, and I don't mean children like little children, I'm talking about 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, young people that are on the internet, that they are starting to explore their vulnerability. And one of the reasons why they're so vulnerable is they're going through puberty. And that is a natural process to be vulnerable, because when you're 11, 12, 13 years old, you're starting to look around to see if people really like you. If you're really cute or people think you're a dork, or you're a loner, or, you're not popular like all the other kids out there. Or you may have some special learning needs or be autistic. Autistic kids are just sitting ducks on the internet because they want people to like them, but they're very good at the internet and they're not capable of really understanding what pedophilia is all about and why somebody is going to be their new best friend. So they begin to pay attention to these kids and make them feel real special and unique. And the first thing that they'll do is begin to isolate your child. The first thing they'll do is move that child from one app to another so that they can make sure the child's willing to follow. And that gives them a little bit greater control and actively reaching them. Then they try to isolate the child. Let's just talk online. Don't tell anybody about us. That could get me in trouble, or it could get you in trouble, or this is just our little secret, or they wouldn't understand that other people care more about them than they do. All of those ways are ways of isolating a child so that they don't want to tell. They start to do instant messaging, where they'll go over to instant messaging where they can talk regularly on. And it becomes an addictive process for your child, where they first get attracted and they're saying, be very careful. And now they're chatting back and forth. And if you think about how kids text and do instant messaging, DM, instant messaging, they go back and forth and back and forth. And so the more they do, the more natural it seems. And the more they let down their guard as to who this person really is. And they are wanting to believe everything that person says, because after all, this person has said that they are very special. And that's exactly how it begins to take place. Now, as kids get a little bit older, they're usually a little bit more cautious on it because they've had a world of internet safety pounded into them. But that internet safety isn't combined with the idea of the feelings that our kids are dealing with. Neither is it being addressing who these people really are and where they're from. And so many of these pedophiles, and by the way, it isn't just pedophiles. Those of you that follow us know we're having a huge trend right now of international telemarketing centers out of the Ivory Coast and out of Pakistan and out of Philippines that are luring in our young boys. And, the next thing you know, and this goes very quick, it might go within 6 hours of contact, and they start demanding a lot of money, and they put massive pressure on that child until the child caves and ends up, without telling anyone, doing the ultimate act of taking their own lives. So this is why I do what I do. I want parents and kids to understand what's taking place out there. But more important, because this is so subtle and involves your need to be loved, it's imperative that we all understand the grooming process. My name is Opal Singleton. We are up against that break, so stay with us. We're going to be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the darknet will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton. Before I go any further, I want to thank each and every one of you that follow our show. It's amazing to me the number of people. I just do what I do because it's where God led me and what I know to do. And I meet you all sometimes when I'm out there in the public, and I come out of this little bunker and actually go out and meet people. And I'm always amazed at the number of people that listen to the show and know who I am and value the information. And I tell you, it just means the world to me. This is a tough business. It really, really is a tough business, but it's a important business. And so your support, both with your prayers and with your finances, Jolly, it just means the world to me. Because this is really important business. When you find a young person that's in trouble, that maybe is going to sneak out and meet up with somebody, or they're sending photos, or they're being blackmailed, and they don't know where to go, I'll tell you, it's first of all, it's hard to overcome the denial. I think that's the first thing that we deal with. Personally, I hate melodrama. I am not an extremist in any way. But as we have seen this crime of sextortion progress, where families like the wonderful Wyneck family, my heart just bleeds for that whole family and the young person that was involved in it. They never could have understood what was about to happen. And this is the very reason why I do what I do, is to help families understand just how crazy this thing can get, because you need to be able to take action. So in a teenage type from about 11, 12, 13, and 14, those are the most vulnerable times and victims that we deal with. Part of it is because they're kind of feeling their Wheaties. They're going through puberty. They're trying to understand their own sexual identity. And more important, they're kind of looking around to see who likes them and what they do right and what they do wrong. And they're terrified they're going to be socially excluded, because that's just, the cardinal sin. But by the same token, they're, wanting to be loved, and they're trying out a variety of things. And some of them get a lot more risque than others. But one of the things you really have to watch out for, mom and dad, is if your child is communicating with someone that is questionable, be very, very careful. Now, the only way you're going to know that is to check their phone. And I would hope, if you're listening to this program, you would never, ever, ever be embarrassed to check your phone. I know I sound like a colonel or, a general in the military, but the truth is, it is your phone, it is your child, and it is your responsibility for several reasons. One is they're still a minor. And if your child is exposed to child pornography on that phone, that couldn't have happened until somebody agreed to give them a phone. By the same token, when you sign up for those apps, mom and dad, it is your phone. You're paying the bill. I know very few 12-year-olds that are paying $80 a month or $150 or whatever it is of their phone bill. And you are agreeing that your child is a certain age when you download an app on your child's phone, because it's really your phone. Your name is on the contract. What I always tell kids is, I'm the mom and it's my phone. But you know what? I believe in you. And you're going to live in a world of technology and a world without borders. So I believe that you're going to be real smart when I loan you my phone. But because it is my phone, I'm going to check our phone regularly, and I'm going to make sure that you're being a leader when you use that phone, because I trust you. If I didn't think you were going to be a leader, I wouldn't be giving you a phone, because I love you too much to lose you to some sort of crazy idiot online that we never met. That is what I share with kids when we talk about going online is the way you don't get taken advantage of online is you know who you are and what you stand for. You decide that you are too good to take chances with some creep from Pakistan or the Ivory Coast because you're not going to be able to recognize whether it is the kid down the street or some pedophile living in Virginia somewhere. By the way, in the recent case, he lived in Virginia and she lives in California. This is the reason I wrote the book, Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. The bad person that's trying to violate your child most likely does not live anywhere in your city. They may not even live in your state or in the United States. And so we have to prepare our children to understand that. So I tell our kids when we give them a phone, I'm going to check this phone. I'm going to know every app that's on there, and you're going to teach it to me because I'm a parent who cares about you. The reason that's so important, mom and dad, is that they will move your child immediately to another app, and probably an app you don't know and never heard of. But it's very easy for your child to download another app and agree to it, and you may not even know about it. By the way, if your child ever comes home with a phone that has a calculator on the front of it, that is a ghost app that is hiding other apps. If you ever see that, a calculator on the front of your kid's phone, you simply say, give me the password or you don't get your phone back because they're hiding other apps. The way you handle this in a positive manner is when your child gets a phone, you sit down and say, you are the first generation that can reach the entire world, and the entire world is going to reach you. And I'm your parent, and I'm going to prepare you for this generation. It is exciting, and it is terrifying. So you and I are going to know every app on this phone, and you're going to show me how to use it because I want to understand it also. And I expect you to be a leader for the younger kids coming up in the next generation. And that is really important because you may find that they're talking to somebody questionable on Instagram, but you don't know where they went, okay? Or they may meet on TikTok and say, hey, send me some more videos over on Instagram and I'll make you famous. And your child wants to be discovered. They want to be, popular, and they want to be Miley Cyrus or somebody, and off they go. And so this is very important to understand. They take advantage of a child's curiosity about sexuality by telling dirty jokes or by sharing inappropriate images or pornography, which is, number one, desensitizing them, suggesting that they're a prude if they think that isn't funny or if they're, embarrassed by it. And this is especially true of little kids. If you have a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid on a phone, the first thing they do is show them videos of other kids playing games, sexual games. And that's just funny to them. And, it's funny to all of us. We all told dirty jokes when we were that age. I know I'm not pure either. We all did it, okay? And it is what people do, but they don't do it with strangers. And that isn't what that child understands. You see, the child doesn't think of the person on the other end as a stranger until we can explain to them how all of this works. Once they see videos of other kids playing games, they can't wait to impress that person with how good they are at making their own video. That is because they're really good at technology, but they're not very good at understanding adult pedophilia. And so once we put our kids on there, they begin to groom. The grooming process does two things. It, number one, makes it seem perfectly natural and perfectly normal. And on top of it, it gives them a fantasy, and our kid starts to think, well, what if this and what if that? And, what if I'm smarter than my folks realize? And what if I'm a little more mature than my parents give me credit for? And this guy thinks I'm really, really cute. And the kids at school make fun of me. But this guy doesn't make fun of me. He understands me. And the fantasy has begun. When an older person shows up in a younger person's life, Mom and dad are not arguing with the older person, and they're not arguing with the child. They're arguing with the fantasy they are creating in that child. And when a parent gets in a tug of war with a fantasy, they're going to lose if they do not understand the grooming process. That is why I wrote Seduce, the Grooming of America's Teenagers, to help parents and grandparents recognize when the child has started a fantasy relationship. More important, how to help them unpack that relationship. But it really starts with separating that child from whoever they've met online that is changing their thought processes. My name is Opal Singleton. This is brought to you by MillionKids.org. We are coming up against another one of those breaks. I'm going to ask you to stay with us. We're going to be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited, Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, the Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited, Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590. The Answer.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. I so much appreciate each and every one of you that listen to this show, especially as parents and grandparents. Over the Christmas holiday, I met so many of you, and there are days when I sit here, and right now I'm in the business of writing a whole new presentation because California law changed about sex trafficking, and I'm known for my years and years and years of research. And I can know all about the technology. I can see the various crimes. I can see how all of this is coming together with, criminal activity and technology and like that. But then suddenly I get a situation where I'm working with a family and it becomes very, very personal. And I can see the fears in grandmas and grandpas as they're dealing with this and going, I never in my lifetime could have believed that this kind of thing could be going on in our household. The crime of sextortion is particularly scary to me and scary to you, as it should be, because of the fact it's a moving target. And that's why I do the research I do to try to stay up on it. Because now what we're seeing is oftentimes it isn't just the pedophile, but it's also large-scale organized crime that is targeting our kids and changing their lives. But what I see is that the heartache and the grief, when a young kid, let's say a young kid that is, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, and they suddenly find themselves in one of these situations, and it's happening all over the world. Literally last year, they took over 80,000 reports a day across the world for online sexual exploitation. That is why we wrote and invested in the movie. If you haven't seen this movie, by the way, I highly recommend it. It's called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. It's available in Amazon and iTunes and Apple TV. Go to sextortionfilm.com or millionkids.org, and we'll connect you to it. You can buy it. It's $9.95, and I'd highly recommend that you and your family, and yes, even your younger kids, can watch it. It's kind of an action movie, but it's got a lot of people in it that were part of the problem, victims of the thing. And that's why we did this, because as I see this happening, we have to overcome people's naivety, their disbelief that this is really happening. And it's a hard thing to bring yourself to look at. So many times I talk to schools and churches. I do a lot of training, especially with school staff, and every now and then the parents and like that. Speaking of that, we have a couple of events coming up. You can find them at millionkids.org. One of them is going to be taking place at Parents' Night out in Beaumont. I was looking for my calendar to try to find it, but it's in the next couple of weeks where we will be doing live presentations for parents. I'm trying to find it here out in Beaumont, and also the Serotimus group out of Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Idlewild is putting on a presentation on the evening of the 27th of January at the RCC Digital Library. That is the 27th in the evening, put on by Serotimus. It is free. That's limited to 200 people, and so it may fill up very quickly. But certainly you can go to millionkids.org. I'm sure we're going to be posting on that very shortly so that you can know about that. But one of the things that happens is disbelief. Nobody really wants to hear about it. I talk with pastors and teachers and like that, and they start until they encounter their first case, which here in Riverside, we've all been hit between the eyes with just the most horrific case ever. And we're starting to see that this doesn't just involve the child, the young person that is being blackmailed, but in many times the entire family is at stake. And that oftentimes the kid will sneak out and meet up with that person, and they disappear or they get hurt. So this isn't just about blackmail. This can be a very deadly crime, many, many different ways. And we're all being forced to stop in our tracks and look at this crime and understand what happens. So the whole grooming process starts with that first special encounter, as that pedophile, that organized criminal ring starts to assess whether or not your child is available and vulnerable. If they respond in any way, that's going to make them available and vulnerable. And your child, if they're going online wanting to get approval, wanting to get attention, wanting to be included in there, if they're just curious about sex, we're seeing a lot of that with young men who think that they may be gay. And rather than talking to mom and dad about it because they fear retribution or rejection, they go onto a site called Grindr. Grindr is a dating site for gays. And by the way, it doesn't have an E in it, Grindr. And it provides them, they use geolocation on that particular app, and it provides them with people who are gay in your community. And these young people start looking for inclusion in the gay community. And the next thing you know, they're being mentored by someone down the street they normally never would have met. And they began a life then where they can often be blackmailed and exploited in sex trafficking. So all of this is just really, really overwhelming a lot of the time. But I believe it does not have to happen. And that is why I do the work I do. If we can educate you, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, and your children about how to use the internet with respect and responsibility, how to be a leader in a generation of kids who will be connected to literally billions of people around the world, and do it in a mature and safe way. And that is our goal, is to educate you to do that with your kids and your parents or grandparents, and also to be able to intervene if we have a situation here where someone is being exploited. Please follow Million Kids at millionkids.org. I would encourage you to download that movie, Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic, and look at it and share it with others. You know, it's only $10. It'll be the best $10 you ever spent. If you're looking for a gift that you want to reinforce a person and let them know how much they are to you, you might go online and buy a challenge coin or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6. They're $25 a piece, and they're absolutely gorgeous, but it's a legacy. It is a legacy that your child will hang on to forever. They are just gorgeous to look at. And it is something they'll never want to let go of. And even when you're long gone from this earth, they will have something that will last them a lifetime, and maybe they'll give it to their kids someday. Who knows? It is a legacy that ought to be going down every family, generation to generation. Well, my name is Opal Singleton, and this is Million Kids, and this is Exploited Crimes and Technology. You can learn all about us at millionkids.org. We're starting out a new year. It's going to be a challenging year, 2023. Technology is advancing. We're doing a tremendous amount of educating of parents and grandparents, and also in a world where sex trafficking exists right here in the Inland Empire. We are going to be very, very challenged in 2023. I want to thank each and every one of you that will take the time to educate others and will take the time to donate to our organization so that we can handle these cases, so that we can educate as many people as possible, so that we can get the word out and get as many people as possible to watch that film. If you watch that film, I would appreciate it if you would write to me at Opal, OPAL, at millionkids.org. Tell me what you think of the film. And if you liked it, show it to your Sunday school class, especially your parent Sunday school class or your teen Sunday school class or your Serotimus or sorority or Rotary or any group that you might belong to. I want to get that message. I spent 6 years raising the money on that. And, quite frankly, it is in consideration for an Oscar. I never believed, but I was amazed that God gave me the money. It took me 6 years to raise that money, but it happened and we have it. And I am proud as punch of Stephen and Maria Peak for creating an incredible movie. It was accepted up at the Santa Barbara Film Festival. It's now in the running for a nomination. It doesn't mean that it'll get nominated, but in the running for an Oscar. But it is a film that every one of you ought to see. It is exciting, it's fun to watch, but it's very educational. Well, folks, this week, I hope that you will start off the new year by letting your family know how important they are to you. If your grandparents, let your adult kids know that you're proud of them, as well as your grandkids. Put your arms around each other this week and let them know that you love them and that you believe in them. See you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.